Hi, everyone. This is a very brief introduction to what we call the levels of development. So you know your enneagram type. You have some sense of where your fixation is, but this is not enough. The enneagram is a tool that helps us understand personality, but it also helps us see how we can grow and change over time. So it works as a sort of map. The levels of development show us how the core motivations and behaviors of each type can change depending on how healthy or stressed someone is feeling, or the level of your EQ, or whether you are operating at a healthy, average, or unhealthy level. The levels of development are like a scale that shows how people act in each of these situations. There are 9 levels for each Enneagram type, and they are divided into 3 main categories: healthy, average, and unhealthy. So we're going to have a very brief look at these 3 groups. As we go through them, try and see if you can figure out where you may be operating. This also helps us to understand how 2 people who are the same type can be behaving significantly differently. First, we have the healthy level, levels 1 to 3. And there aren't many people that operate at these levels. At these levels, people are acting in their best possible way for their type. So, in other words, bringing out more of their strengths. They are emotionally balanced, self-aware, and grounded. They live in a way that shows their strengths and qualities, and they tend to inspire others. We like to have them around. At the average levels is where humanity happens, and this is where the majority of people are living or operating. And this is where we notice fixation, and this is why we can determine our type or people's type. At these levels, people are going through life normally, but they may feel stressed or reactive at times. They're often driven by their core fears and needs, and they might struggle with some inner conflict. At the unhealthy levels, people are struggling. They're less in touch with their best selves and often react out of fear or insecurity. Really difficult to have around. Their behaviors can become harmful and they may feel emotionally stuck. Let's have a look at the levels in a little bit more detail. Healthy levels 1 to 3. Level 1 is the healthiest level. People here are calm, wise, and compassionate. They feel clear about their purpose in life and live with integrity and confidence. And this is where we are all striving to be. At level 2, these individuals are very self-aware and focused on growth. They are creative, practical, and healthy in their relationships, and they inspire others with their positive attitude and authenticity. And then at level 3, people are doing well, but they may be a bit more focused on external success. They are responsible and work hard, but are still balanced and content inside. These first 3 levels are where we should all be striving to be or to operate in order to bring out the best of our type. At the average levels, which I like to say is where humanity happens, we have level 4 going down from level 3. People at this level are still doing okay, but they feel stressed because they're trying to meet expectations. They might feel anxious or overly focused on being seen as successful or admired. At level 5 is where conflict starts to happen. These individuals may become more introverted and preoccupied with their thoughts and feelings. They may become anxious or more focused on status to feel good about themselves. And level 5 is where we tend to drop to as a collective once people come together, despite of the level that the individuals may be operating at. Then we have level 6. And at this level, the individuals feel more worried or pessimistic. They focus heavily on finding safety and security, and sometimes they become controlling or resistant to change. And these are the 3 levels that we most often see in corporates. Moving down to the unhealthy levels, We have level 7. People at this level become insecure and they put on a facade of being in control. They might act critical or overly anxious, and they're trying to hide their vulnerability. At level 8, they might act out in anger or aggression. They fear being seen as weak, so they try to control others or push people away to avoid being hurt. At level 9, the lowest level, people may feel totally overwhelmed. They can become depressed, disconnected, withdrawn from life, and sometimes lashing out or retreating entirely. This is the unhealthiest level. So the good news is the Enneagram isn't a fixed system, and we can all grow and improve. By understanding where we are on the scale, we can work to becoming the healthiest version of ourselves, and we can help others to do the same. So this is where the real work happens, where we start transforming ourselves, raising our self-awareness to the point of where we can see the red flags when we start moving down the levels of development. I hope that this has given you some insight into the levels of development, and next time we are going to look at the levels of development for the individual types. So hopefully this will bring more insight into yourself. Thank you for listening.